Hello and welcome to Canada All Stars. This is our bite-sized webinar series where we bring some of Canada's biggest fans to share their Canada experiences with you. So hopefully you can learn a bit more about how to sell Canada. So up to date, we've got Paula Martin from First Class Holidays. Hey Paula, how are you?
I'm great, thank you, and thank you for inviting me along.
Oh, pleasure to have you on. So Paula is the key account trade manager for First Class Holidays, and we know First Class Holidays are one of our biggest Canada tour operators here in the UK. So it's great to have you on. What I'm going to do is ask you the 6 questions we've been asking everyone. So we'll kick straight off with, so why Canada? You know, how did you get involved with Canada and selling Canada, and what's your story?
Yes, certainly. Well, my story goes way, way back, if I'm honest with you. My very first introduction to Canada was, and sort of fascination as a child, was watching a TV show which was filmed in British Columbia called The Beachcombers. It was based in and around Gibsons, which is southwest BC, sort of the Sunshine Coast, and obviously filmed in some beautiful locations and all based around the logging community. So that was my very first introduction to Canada as a destination. But then again, way back in the 80s, I started working in our wonderful industry as a retail independent agent. And then towards almost 1989, I believe it was, I joined my first Canadian specialist tour operator with the founders of what was later to become First Class Holidays. So I worked for a couple of different Canadian specialists, and then I joined First Class Holidays in 2000. So various educationals, familiarization trips, roadshows, product marketplaces later sort of enable me to create magnificent brochures and dream itineraries with all my agents, and just the vast range of unrivaled product I was amazed at. It enhanced my passion and my knowledge for just this spectacular destination. I think really for me, since my first trip in 1989, I was hooked. I fell in love with this country. Its welcoming people, its diverse experiences that it could offer, and it's just never-ending array of enchanting experiences. So they're always changing and always evolving, and it certainly keeps the fire lit for me.
Oh, great. So today, how many times do you think you've been? Have you totted them up?
I think I've lost count. I think it must be about 14 or 15 now over the years.
Brilliant.
I've couple of trips planned for later in the year, so yeah, all great.
Good. Wow. I have to say, I didn't realize that you've been involved with Canada for so long, so that's fab. we all learn something every day. So thinking back over your visits, you know, what would you say, you know, when you think about, you know, a lot of people think of Canada and they think of like the natural wonders, you know, what are the ones that stood out for you, and you know, how easy is it for Brits to kind of to experience those natural wonders?
Yes, certainly. Well, I mean, it's an amazing country, and it has got so much to offer the Brits, and I think it's really the most beautiful landscapes, and anybody who really appreciates untamed wilderness. Some of my natural favourites really would be the Bay of Fundy, sort of wedged between New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. I think it's one of Canada's crowning glories, really. I know it's home to some of the wildest tides on Earth, with like billions of tons of water rushing through, and it creates some of the highest tides. And I was amazed to discover, thankfully not to my peril, but some of them over 50 feet, you know, 4 stories high. And then where all these tides drudge up all from the ocean floor, sort of creating a wilder range of nutrients and stuff from the ocean. So, and that of course attracts all the various wildlife and marine life. You could do impressive whale watching there with dramatic landscapes of steep cliffs and sea stacks, and of course the water's worn away all the various red sandstones. So you've got lots of fossils, and of course not only amazing food for marine life, you have got amazing seafood here, some of the best I've ever had. some great kayaking. I've done kayaking around there, some sea kayaking adventures, and you can see, you can watch the sunrise from the highest point along the eastern seaboard rather. I think it's just got everything in the Bay of Fundy, you know, beaches, sea, sand, surf, and of course marine hospitality. Maritime hospitality, and not forgetting there's the Matcha Sea Island as well. So if you're into bird watching, there are thousands of birds that migrate and nest around here, from your Arctic ferns, your razorbills, and of course the little cute Atlantic puffins. And then one really quite different, but Niagara Falls, you can't mention an actual wonder without mentioning Niagara Falls in Ontario, of course home to Horseshoe Falls, and the most powerful waterfall in North America, and possibly the best known in the world, really. For UK visitors, it was known as a former honeymoon capital, but we've noticed it really increase, and a lot of families wanting to go here as well, and nobody can really prepare you for that first glimpse of the falls when you hear the roar of the water and just this sheer force in nature. It's breathtaking. Although of course, due to its close proximity to the USA, the resort is a little bit commercialized, but it doesn't take away from the natural wonder. It's definitely worth a visit, an overnight or a day trip from Toronto. And I personally especially love Niagara Falls in the winter. I think there's less crowds, it's beautiful vistas, and just when the falls are actually lit up in the winter months, they're gorgeous. I actually got engaged at Niagara Falls in the scenic tunnels some 25 years ago. Yeah, so it's quite, it's always got a special place in my heart. And a couple of others, I would say certainly the Northern Lights, you know, outwardly light show where you can see on the Aurora Oval, and obviously, you know, in Canada you can see the Northern Lights from the Yukon, Nunavut and the Northwest Territories, although of course you can see them in other provinces. And then last but by no means least for me, it's got to be the Rockies, the Canadian Rockies. You know, turquoise water, expanses of just unblemished wilderness, snow-capped mountains, and of course there's nowhere more, I don't think, iconically Canadian than the Rockies. Whether you're visiting the national parks for the first time, or in the winter skiing or snowboarding, or whether you're just passing through or doing an unforgettable train journey. I think it's obviously the fact the Canadian Rockies are a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's certainly the #1 destination for Brits, and it's just no surprise why.
Oh, brilliant. Wow, yeah, some great stuff there. Yeah, I mean, I think I really like New Brunswick as well. You start with that, with, you know, and Hopewell Rocks, and yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? With the tides, you can actually walk on the sea floor, and then in the afternoon you can be kayaking around like way higher up, and and I think Niagara Falls is great, isn't it? I mean, you could just even do it as a day trip from Toronto. It's very, very accessible, and and I think, you know, that's brilliant. The Rockies and obviously the Northern Lights of the Yukon. I mean, I think it just shows, you know, from coast to coast to coast, from east to west, that, you know, that diversity that is there. So brilliant. So moving on to bucket list experiences, and, you know, I mean, the Rockies and Niagara Falls might also be on some people's bucket list, but I don't know, bucket lists, love them or hate them, they you know, these people seem to have them, and I think more and more so. So I don't know, have you got what's on your
what's on mine? Well, yes, on mine, or ones that I certainly, these are, well, I did struggle with this question because there are so many, like you say, and so many people have such a variety of them. But I've come up with the ones that I certainly get asked about the most. So, of course, I would say the Canadian Rockies. So, you know, and what's great about bucket list options or itineraries is that you can do a number of bucket list options. I think quite easy to do from multi-state tours or self-drive or rail itineraries. you know, a lot of people want to go asleep on board a train or want to go on the Rocky Mountaineer, and of course driving the Icefields Parkway is on a lot of people's itineraries. It's one of National Geographic's most scenic highways, isn't it? And my thing, a lot of people I'm telling them is just, you know, don't rush it. Spend a couple of weeks at least to sort of take in the majesty and get some of those ticks on for the Rockies, certainly. And even the Northern Lights, a lot of people aren't aware how easy accessible they can be in Canada. And what we've come across a few different itineraries as well is that you, depending on the dates, because obviously your Northern Lights, the best viewing is October through to March. You can actually combine that maybe with polar bear viewing, you know, so depending upon the time of year when obviously the polar bears are, you know, traveling upwards to the Hudson Bay, waiting for it to freeze in Manitoba. So you can then sort of tick off two, certainly, if you wanted to do that. Yeah, and so it's, all year round there's different opportunities to do things this way. So, and of course polar bear viewing arguably these intimate small bear encounters with true specialists. There's nowhere better to see this, you know, the world's greatest concentration, although of course you do have to book early for those. Canada by rail, I think, is a major one though, because a lot of people have never really travelled on rail extensively. So whether it be on Via Rail services from, you know, the ocean to the Skeena to the Canadian, or the magnificent iconic Rocky Mountaineer for the 2 or 3 day rail tours, I think it's really one of the best ways to experience a slice of Canada at a really leisurely pace. And we're finding many Brits, certainly over the last few years, are travelling to Canada, combining the charms of the Atlantic provinces, maybe staying in a lighthouse or cycling the Cabot Trail, and then jumping on board the ocean via rail train, having their first overnight rail experience, and then landing into the enchanting Quebec province. So, you know, a true melting pot of North America and French and First Nation heritage. So that's been increasingly popular for bucket list itineraries. And then I suppose last but by no means least, wildlife viewing. I've mentioned polar bears, of course. You've got all the various bears or whale viewing in the true natural habitat, which I think is more and more important in these days. And we're lucky in Canada that we've got options to suit every duration, every ability, and every budget available. You know, from exclusive bear viewing lodges in BC, accessible only by float plane, for a truly immersive experience, to day whale watching or bear tours, some with Indigenous guides offering a real immersive cultural experience, you know, especially with some of the unique First Nation tours we have, especially available in likes of Western Canada. And of course, I already mentioned whale watching in the Bay of Fundy or Tadoussac. And I think we're especially lucky for bucket list itineraries because in Canada offers so many amazing internal air network as well as excellent road and rail links. So we can achieve many ticks on many bucket list itineraries with relative ease, really.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah. I mean, I always sort of think with Canada as well, actually, that because it is a big country, you know, actually the traveling around is part of the experience. So actually, you know, if you're doing a self-drive, which I think the rail is great, but I don't know, I kind of like being in control in a car and you know, driving from A to B is part of the holiday in the sense that it, you know, you're never short of an amazing view or stopping off and having, you know, just having a little hike and getting some great photos and video if that's your, you know, so I think, yeah, the sort of getting around is actually part of the experience. And yeah, like you said, like obviously the train is popular and you know, there's that historic element, isn't there? Because I mean, Canada, that's how it really connected with the country, with the railways and these great Fairmont hotels that now kind of sit in all the major tourism places. So yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, it was was it Cornelius Van Horn said, wasn't it? We can't export the scenery, we'll import the tourists.
Yeah,
it's never so true, is it?
Yeah, no, definitely. Cool. Well, no, some great stuff there. So next one, what is it about Canada that makes you feel good?
Ooh, everything. This is a tricky one because I think there's so many that make me feel good.
Give us a couple. Give us a couple.
30 years, yeah, 30 years later, I'm still loving it. I think really, so the great outdoors allowing you to feel relaxed and refreshed and back in touch with nature, and the chance to recharge your batteries, re-engage with not only yourself but those you're traveling with in just some jaw-dropping locations. I think you feel good embracing and discovering and pushing the boundaries. I mean, I've certainly done quite a few new activities I would never have thought about doing here, and I've been quite proud of myself. Everything from kayaking, canoeing, dog sledging, skiing. Haven't quite tried snowboarding yet, but skiing certainly. And of course, oh my goodness, the delicious food. Nobody can prepare you. Certainly prepare for enhancing a few more calories, but delicious food, amazing wine. Oh, amazing wine, definitely. From the ice wine to all the vineyards in the Okanagan, everywhere. And of course, there's lots of brilliant breweries popping up everywhere now as well. And I think, or if you like that big adrenaline rush, obviously you've got all your zip lines in the likes of Whistler, or as I say, kayaking on the Iceberg Alley. That was one of my favorites. Wow. But I think everything, I mean, those who know me know that I am a little bit of a shopaholic, and I will say there's nothing like a bit of good old retail therapy.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, Paula.
No, well, and I think that's what's brilliant about Canada is that, be it going to Robson Street in Vancouver or Eaton Centre or even West Edmonton Mall, it's so easy to combine elements like that to suit everybody. I know it certainly keeps teens like mine happy, and if mum's happy, we're all happy as well. Yeah. And then last but not least, I suppose really it's I love all the various hot springs and the spa resorts, and there's nothing better for me than having an adventurous day, hiking, walking, cycling, wherever, and then retiring to a lovely resort, enjoying the local springs or going to be pampered, to do it all again for your next day of adventure. So and last but not least, you can't mention the feel good factor without mentioning the locals. I think they're the wonderful locals, and just their passion and their sharing their Canada with us. They certainly are the most welcoming people I've ever come across.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's no, definitely. I'd second that for sure. So, come on, you've been going 15 plus times. You must have some little hidden gems, some little off the beaten path recommendations, maybe for clients that a bit more adventurous, or or maybe stuff that you can access easily from cities and regular trips. So I don't know, what you've got for us. What can you share with us?
Yes. Again, I think you can discover hidden gems on every visit, but certainly some of the ones that I've come across. How about Galiano Island, which is on the southern Gulf Islands in British Columbia? 2 hours, I believe, south of Vancouver, and accessible only by ferry or float plane. And it's sort of like Canada's wild west coast. You've got ancient forests, rocky heights, sandstone and pebble beaches. And you can do trail walking, hiking, kayaking. Of course, there are killer whales in this region, but it's really an undeveloped island where you can sort of get up close and personal, and you may almost feel as if you have it to yourself. There's a wide variety of wildlife there, from birds, the bald eagles, the blue heron, the cormorants, the hummingbirds to on land beavers, deer, wild mink, raccoons, maybe even some feral cats. But in the marine life, obviously otters, humpbacks, orcas, seals and sea lions. So that's something that is really quite undiscovered.
Right.
And then going back out east, I always laugh at my pronunciation. I hope I get it right. Right. Koochibuquak National Park in New Brunswick. Yeah.
New Brunswick, yeah.
Yeah, so I just think it's, you don't necessarily always think of New Brunswick for sort of summer beaches and, ocean views, but it really can deliver on that. And it's something that's quite different. You've got the Kelly's Beach Boardwalk, which is the most travelled trail in the park. And you can even go and see, or go and discover the Koochibuquak red chairs, which are dotted around by Parks Canada for getting some really good, having a little bit of a relax, but instead of being dotted around the various trails. And of course, in and around this, there's hundreds of kilometres of trails and coastal walks. You mentioned, I think, Flower Pot or Hopewell Rock and stuff around here, but there's just all sorts of things going on, and it's just different. It's something that a lot of people may bypass, but it's worth including on an itinerary. Still out east, I love Carter's Beach in Nova Scotia, which is, I think, it's about 20 kilometres south of Liverpool. I had to go and find it because of the name and the location. But it was, you can go and search for sand dollars, the little sea urchins, in one of the most beautiful beaches in Canada. It is really unspoilt, undiscovered by many, although it is getting a little bit more visited now, but it really is uncommercialized. There's hardly anything there. So you've got like 3 beaches, 3 sort of crescents that are into one. Just be warned that there is limited parking and no facilities, but it's like a taste of the Caribbean. It really is neat. Then over to the Rockies, I would say one of my favorite hikes was the Helen Lake Trail, which is near Lake Louise. So it's sort of located near Bow Summit, and it's just sort of north of Lake Louise on the Icefields Parkway. So like you mentioned, if you're driving, definitely well worth allowing. About 4 hours this hike would take you. It's relatively strenuous, but the hike itself is only about 12 kilometres from the parking lot. So, and it's a beautiful, as most of the lakes are around here, turquoise glacial lake, but you do go above the tree line, so you can get some amazing pictures, and traveling just the lovely meadows and flowers and everything is gorgeous. And then I've not mentioned that much about Quebec really, so I would say the autumn colours, hiking the Laurentian Mountains in Quebec, where you can see the vibrant colours, which I wouldn't say you won't find them anywhere else, but they're some of the best colours you would see in the Laurentian Mountains.
I'd agree. That's for full colours. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, it's some of the oldest and most picturesque mountain ranges in the world. They literally have got hikes to suit every ability, and obviously some beautiful resorts dotted around there as well, so you can do as little or as much as you want. I know year round, obviously Mount Tremblant is famous for skiing, but in the springtime, you can see the local sugar shacks and the local vermicular, so you can see and taste the delicious maple syrup is well worth there. And then for me, I think one of the things I did on one of my first visits to Canada was ski at Vancouver at Cypress Mountain.
Okay.
So yeah, and I thought it was spectacular that you could be in the city and then 30 minutes away you could be up Cypress Mountains, and there's amazing downhill skiing, and there I think there's over 50 various slopes and fun activities, and it's where a lot of the locals go. After a hard day of work, they can be seen, and I think some of the ski runs are open till about 10 of the night. So it's just an amazing opportunity if you haven't got the time to go to Whistler or to some of the Rockies resorts. And I think just being able to see it, a lot of people don't realize how close and accessible it is, and they do have some great chocolate or cheese fondue up there as well. So you're rewarded for all that hard work.
Oh, great. Yeah, no, I was lucky enough to ski at Grouse actually last year, I think it was, and yeah, really easy. I mean, yeah, you're just half an hour from the city, if that, really. And yeah, we had fondue as well, so it was fun.
Yeah, it's a must.
Cool. Oh, well, some really good stuff there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put those on my list. So okay, so final question. We're kind of getting to the end now. So if you had to tell someone, if you had to tell someone, how Canada, makes you feel, I know we touched on a bit about what makes you feel good, but how it makes you feel, what would you say?
Yes.
How would you describe Canada to a friend?
I think for me, it makes me feel invigorated. It makes me feel alive and enchanted all in one sweep. I think it's a true sort of magical destination. It's unrivaled vistas and experiences, and there's just something to suit everybody. I think it offers really true value for money as a destination as well. It's got everything you'd want from a holiday and so much more, with unique excursions, unrivaled natural attractions, and just all unforgettable memories. But the allure isn't just the great outdoors, I don't think. It's clean, it's safe, it's friendly, and it's multicultural. And I think whatever your interests are, be it wildlife, I don't know, river rafting, shopping, even theatre, it kind of just won't disappoint. It makes me feel amazing. I think I tell all my friends, you'll love it. It'll never disappoint, and you'll love it as much as me.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I don't know, I'd agree with that, definitely. Yeah, it makes me feel amazing. Wow, well that was brilliant, Paula. You did a fab job today. Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you very much.
And I love you. You've done a great job with your backdrop there as well. So
full
marks for that. So, but no, really appreciate your time. And yeah, well, thanks for watching today. And we will be back with you soon with another one of our Canada All-Stars soon. So thanks to Paula, and goodbye.
Goodbye.